Today is Sunday, December 9th, 2016, and Nathan is here interviewing Lori. And thanks for agreeing to talk with us today. We have lots of questions, and so feel free to answer only what you want to. And if you feel a bit insecure about something, you don't have to answer it.
Nathan, I'm quite used to talking. Your problem will be stopping me.
Okay. So where did you live when you were growing up?
I grew up in western New York State, Rochester, New York. It's a city of about 700,000 people.
Did you
I
have
lived in a suburb.
Did you have a favorite place to, like, where you would think, or, like, when you were alone?
My bedroom, because I was a reader, and I would you like to pull up a chair?
Oh, no.
Here's one okay. I was a reader, and then also there was a playground. When you asked me that question, I said, what popped into my mind? And there was a playground at a local school that wouldn't seem to be alone there, but by just being there, it was very comforting.
So you, like, tuned everybody out?
Yes.
And just
Yeah.
thought about it, yeah. So, was there any things that you would think about?
I would live through the novels. I read story after story after story. I actually became an English teacher at the beginning of my teaching career because I had read so much. I would live in the stories. Life was kind of busy for me in real terms, so I escaped into the novels.
So did you have any siblings?
I have a brother who's 5.5 years older.
And did you get along with them?
No, we fought. In fact, for
Okay.
a long time, I actually flinched anytime a guy walked by me because I was afraid I was ready to be hit.
So was he older than you?
Yes, 5.5
Okay,
years. Yeah.
so can you describe a story when you were mad at him, or when you were, like, getting along with him?
I never got along with him until I went to college. And, I was
So tell me a story when you got very, very mad about him.
Well, he was so much older that I was just mostly afraid. But he taught me how to ride a bike, how to play cards, how to manage a lot of situations. So when I would get really mad at him, my mother would finally come in and intervene, and I would make it. I would say it's all, he hit me. And so I would get her on my side. My brother always felt unfairly punished because it probably was both of our faults, but he always got nailed because
I've got a brother too. He's younger.
you have a way of, and so you get unfairly chastised when it's
But
actually...
I also have an older sister, so sometimes I can get away with stuff.
That's true, that's true.
Yeah.
But I should tell you the part that I said is very unusual. My father was a restaurateur. That means he bought restaurants and built the business up and then would sell them. During the time I was 5 till I was 10, he owned a hotel. And it was a resort hotel. That means people came in the summer and had their sailboats and regattas and whatever. And then in the winter it was quieter. So in the winter, I went down to Florida for 3 months of school in Orlando before Disney was built. So in January, we would drive down to Florida, and I'd live there for 3 months and then come back to school, for the rest of school and summer in the north. And when my parents sold the hotel, then they went to the racetrack every night. So I grew up in a hotel, in the bar room, or at the racetrack. I don't think you've probably ever been to a racetrack, have you? Yeah, I thought so.
Mm-hmm. So, like, did that influence you?
Oh, very much.
What you liked or what you didn't like?
I had a lot of freedom because my dad did the cooking and my mother did the bartending.
Yeah.
So she was busy all the time, so I was gone all day and would come back at night. Where have you been? Out. What have you been doing? Nothing. So, nobody told me where to go and what to do. I also was able to talk to adults very early in life, and I got left a lot of money by some people who thought that was neat. And when they died, they gave me money.
Yeah. So, did you have a best friend? Or were you more alone?
Well, I always had a lot of friends, but we moved enough, so I don't remember. I had some best friends. Yeah.
So how much did you move?
We moved every 2 or 3 years, really. Well, until I was 10, fourth grade. Fourth grade, I stayed in the same school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, what did it feel like when you moved? Were you sad that you had to move?
I didn't notice. I just went into the new class and sat down and joined in.
So we're going to skip ahead a bit. So, did you ever marry?
Oh yes, I was married for 30 years to a man from Nepal. Nepal is where Mount Everest is located.
Yeah.
It's only 90 miles wide and 500 miles long. It's a very small country.
So, what was he like?
He is a businessman. He came here when he was 16. He has a million stories of interesting things that happened to him. He grew up in Nepal, and they didn't have cars. He wanted to come down. He wanted to come to the U.S. So he went from Nepal down to Delhi, India, to meet the ambassador from the U.S. to ask the ambassador for a recommendation to write a recommendation to college for him. He wanted to go to Michigan State for a number of reasons.
My dad taught there.
Oh, really? Yeah. So we have a connection. Well, my ex-husband took an elephant from Kathmandu down to Delhi and knocked on the door of the home of the U.S. ambassador. And the butler came to the door and said, I'd like to talk to the ambassador. Who are you? So the butler went out and checked with the ambassador, and they came and brought my ex-husband, whose name is Ramesh. I'm going to use the name Ramesh now. Brought Ramesh out on the porch where he was sitting, and he asked, and Ramesh said, I would like a recommendation for myself and my brother to Michigan State. There were 5 international scholarships, and they ended up getting 2 of them. So, my ex-husband has a lot of courage and big ideas, and and that was the start, and he's had many big ideas ever since. We're still friends.
How did you meet?
Blind date.
Wow. And so, do you have any kids?
I have a 47-year-old son who lives in Manhattan. He is a social worker in the emergency psych ward. So, remember...
Bless you.
Excuse me. I have an allergy or something. In this psychological emergency ward, there's people who have mental problems and a heart attack or illness or get in a car accident. In New York City, in Columbia Presbyterian Hospital, which is one of the best hospitals in the world. My voice just dropped, so I don't know if that'll come out on your tape, but anyway, okay. So, yeah.
Yeah.
And I have one grandson, and he's in 8th grade, and he's looking for a school in Manhattan. He's applying. You don't just automatically go to your neighborhood high school in Manhattan.
Yeah.
There are 90,000 kids looking for a school for next September.
Yeah.
And he's picked out 5 private schools and 6 public schools to apply to.
Mm-hmm. So, was there a story when you found your son challenging?
Was there what?
Was there a story when you found your son challenging?
Was there a story that would find my son challenging?
Like when you got mad at him, or when he was tough to handle?
Oh, let's see. Yes, this is not mad. Yes, there is. I don't know if you call this challenging, but I find it interesting. One day he was in 2nd grade, I think, in 1st grade. No, nursery school. He was young. And it was Halloween time, and we wanted to get a pumpkin. So we went to a farm stand, and they had loads of pumpkins all over. So I said, you pick out one. And I went and looked at the ones I wanted. I came back and he still hadn't picked one out. I came back again and he still hadn't picked one out. I said, what's wrong? He said, I'm afraid it'll hurt the feelings of the other ones. I said, oh my God, this is so cute. So I told him, go ahead and pick the ugliest pumpkin in the patch. One that nobody else will buy. And that made him happy. He picked out the ugliest one, and then we went and picked out a beautiful one too.
So what is your religion?
My religion, I was brought up Catholic. I went to Catholic schools for 16 years.
Yeah.
And I'm not a Catholic now. and now I'm practicing.
So, what did you do for your holidays? Did you celebrate Christmas? Did you celebrate Easter?
All of those, because they're all almost national holidays.
Yeah.
In Christmas, I don't actually celebrate that day. The night before with I have a partner, with my partner's family and his family. And then the day after my son goes to his in-laws on Christmas Day, and then we spend time, we all rent a suite in a hotel nearby, and we stay together,
Yeah.
a bunch of us.
So the whole family.
Yeah.
And do you have any memories of a big celebration for a holiday?
Yes, Christmas, we used to put several families together and do Christmas present trading out. Sometimes Christmas present giving would take 3 or 4 hours.
Yeah.
People would get bored. It was so much.
Let's see. So, did you go to school?
I did. I have a PhD.
Nice.
Yeah.
So, when you were young, how did you feel about going to school?
I loved going to school. I was a troublemaker, so I loved fooling around with my friends.
Yeah.
The one thing I didn't like was one day, the nun, I had nuns throughout the whole cycle. She drew a circle on the board, and about as big as a rubber band, there's a jar of peanut butter neck. And she made me put my nose right in the center.
Wow.
And that was, it was embarrassing. She meant to embarrass me. That was my punishment for being
What was
too
your
talkative.
favorite subject?
English, because I love to read. But
Yeah.
these days I'm not an English. I spent 30 years of my life being an accounting teacher.
Yeah.
And turns out I love that even better.
Was there a teacher who had a big influence? It could be good or bad.
One day, my mother, the school was starting, and both my brother and I were still in elementary school. And my mother came to school. My mother brought us to a new school. We were moving into a new place, and we hadn't registered for the school. When we went to the door of the parish, the priest was really mean to my mother, made her cry. So when we left there, we went over to the school. This was the parish headquarters, and we walked to the school next door. And the nun came to the door, and she said, "Why?" She was upset to see my mother was in tears. And my mother said, "Will you take my children?" And she said, "Of course we will." Sister Regina, I still remember her name, you know. And that wasn't because she was a teacher, it's because she said such human response to a totally upset woman, whereas the priest had been totally insensitive.
So, did you have any choices about which college you went to? Were they hard?
I didn't. I was very slow in the college picking process, and my mother said you have to apply in New York State because you're probably going to win a scholarship, a state scholarship. So I went to my girlfriend and I said, "Where are you applying?" And she said, "College of New Rochelle." I said, "Is that in New York State?" She said, "Yes." So I said, I wrote and got an application, filled it out, and never looked at another school, never looked at that school. I got accepted and never thought anything about it. I didn't realize how difficult it was.
Mm-hmm. And what about your graduate school?
I have 3 graduate degrees. I have a master's in English education from Emory University in Georgia, in Atlanta. And I have a master's in business administration from Boston University. And then I am the first PhD graduate in accounting from Boston University. So yeah, and that was pretty amazing. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I do have those programs I prepared a lot for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, did you have any chores at home that you disliked and complained
Well, I did.
about?
You know, my mother was very busy. She was when they sold the hotel. She didn't do any bartending anymore. She became a school teacher, an elementary school teacher. She taught 5th grade, And so I did the cleaning and the laundry and the ironing and I didn't do the shopping, but I did the things in the house. And I hated cleaning, but it had to be done.
Like, was there any particular stories that you remember of that may remind you on how hard it was?
Yeah, when I make the bed now because my